Hi, everybody. This is Jim Malone. I'm the Content Director with the Mobile Enterprise 360 community, and I'm here today with Roger Courville with the 1080 Group. Hi, Roger. Thanks for joining us.
Jim, my pleasure.
Let's start off with some simple questions. Tell us about the 1080 Group and what's your title there?
Well, officially president, I often go by Chief AHA Guy. We've got a small crew of old-timers in the web conferencing industry, and we just simply help organizations, one, drive adoption of web conferencing within their organization so they can reap the benefits of that, and then improve the impact of those communications so that they can take the discomfort and disconnect out of whether they're meeting, training, collaborating, so that they can make that feel like a natural and productive part of their day.
Yeah. Tell us about how this has changed. What's the state of your business? Is it growing like crazy? Has this become, adoption going through the roof? What's going on?
Yeah, it's still, the technology itself is as inexpensive as ever, and the state of awareness of the benefit, way beyond saving money, traveling, is hitting an all-time high. So one, how do we not think of this as just a replacement to in-person meetings, but a supplement to, and what are the unique benefits thereof, is a pretty popular topic, whether it's moving classes online or better sales presentations and demonstrations, and on and on and on.
Yeah, let's dive into that a little bit. What are the main differences, online presentations versus the face-to-face, and why does that matter?
The medium of communication impacts, the change of the medium of communication always impacts three things. One is sensory perceptions, just how do we see and hear and all that. One is cognitive, how are we learning, understanding, making meaning. And the third is social, how do we connect and take the discomfort and chat and collaborate and those kinds of things. So why does it matter? Well, anybody who's not really making it an effective part of their day, I believe, a little bit biased here, but I believe they're leaving money on the table because because optimization drives valuation in any medium, right? We get better for writing for the web versus writing a white paper, because even though it's all writing, it is a different form of communication. And even if I'm using my voice and PowerPoint and collaborating on the next project, doing so through this medium has a few tweaks, and when you learn how to do it better, you're going to be more productive, and your customers, prospects, employees are going to be more happy and effective in using that.
Now, is this a question of the quality of the presentation, or what are the other components that you talk about with your clients?
Well, it depends on who I'm speaking to. So at the organizational adoption level, it's pretty frequent, of course, in an economy where attention is scarce. An email from IT isn't isn't necessarily a guaranteed change of behavior. So if there's potential benefit to be had within the organization and people are using it, well, you're leaving money on the table there. Once they are, then the question is, well, is this something that is embraced fully, as in, does the field sales team know where and why, and then we get to the how. How do I effectively engage? When would I want to use this? How am I going to increase productivity so I can make a bigger number next quarter? And the same impact can happen in human resources or training and development or whoever. So, but that tends to start, the how tends to land at the very personal level, right? Training's not worried about reducing their sales cycle.
Exactly. Now, excuse me, in the face-to-face world, public speaking is one of the biggest fear factors most people have. It's a pretty common fear. What's the analog in the online presentation world? What do you encounter?
Similar. Most people don't want to look stupid in front of their peers, right? That's where that fear comes from. And now we move into something like this online world, and it's like, oh, if I push this button, what do you see? Or if you put your hand up, did I not even notice for 15 minutes? That's actually one of the potent values that I have always appreciated with Citrix. Go to meeting, go to webinar, go to training. They've been a client of mine for almost 7 years, which is the commitment to ease of use. If people aren't using it, you're not realizing the benefit thereof. And the first thing that it has to be is intuitive and user-friendly so that we can do work, right? It's about people connecting with people. If the tool gets in the way, we're losing money.
Yeah, I would, that's pretty common, and it makes perfect sense. Now, you've talked a couple times about the benefits. Let's run down some of the prime benefits toward, paying attention to this.
I like to think in terms of revenue, cost, risk, and agility, right? And where each of those is impacted depends on where we're talking about web conferencing within your organization. And sometimes it's hard benefit versus soft benefit, but it goes way beyond saving travel money. Do I manage to increase by 5 or 10% the number of sales demonstrations that I manage to cover, or realize new benefits because I can present to 2 locations at once instead of doing a multi-leg trip? And so there's a revenue impact, speed of message or agility, whether that's time to market to make a change to a competitive threat or whatever that might be. Reduction of risk. How many marginal meetings have we attended or flown to? And frankly, I used to work at Microsoft. That's a big campus where you got golf carts to take you across campus. We use web conferencing even locally. Well, in fact, in an extreme example, we use web conferencing in the same conference room because it's easier to collaborate on the same document instead of unplugging the projector and plugging it into somebody else's computer. So risk, agility, reduction of cost, obviously, and the opportunity to impact revenue positively.
Now, as far as size of enterprise go, does it matter? Is this something that really should be considered or widely adopted?
I think it's a great equalizer. I think it's a great equalizer, meaning small and medium enterprise now have an opportunity to increase frequency of communications, not just reach, but that richness of how do I develop a relationship when I may not have the budget to be on an airplane as much as otherwise. But it's a no-brainer that a Fortune 100 or a Global 100 company would equally realize those benefits if they make the change in behavior.
So is it true then that the days of that, the conference room with all the gear that never used to get used, are those days over? Have we reached that point?
I'm a big fan of thinking, well, here by crazy analogy, LP, remember records? LP sales have increased 70% in the last 3 years. Usually the old thing is not rendered useless, but it is put in its place or whatever, but yes. Because think about how we relate to a mobile phone, right? We used to have to go to the telephone, and now the telephone goes with us, which transformed how we communicate with the telephone, right? Well, the same thing is true with like web audio video conferencing. The ability to make a presentation or have an impactful and purposeful meeting when it goes with me, instead of me having to go to that room full of gear that you just mentioned, will transform how you approach work, and especially in a mobile environment.
Roger, to finish up, what are let's just take the top 3 objections you hear, and what's your advice for overcoming? What do you tell folks how to get started, that type of thing?
I like to be there in person. Hey, I'm not going to argue. I do too. However, there are times when, in fact, the change of medium can transform or be better or more effective for all the reasons we just talked about. Second objection, typically I did a study 5 years running about the adoption of web conferencing in Australia and New Zealand. The number one reason they don't, entrenchment of the current way we do things. It's a behavior change management thing. Third tends to be around comfort level with how it may change what I need to do. Like I've proven in 2 studies that people will pay more attention to your PowerPoint in a virtual presentation than an in-person presentation. So if your PowerPoint still looks like that same old stuff that we all love to complain about, it's a missed opportunity relative to engaging you visually and being able to control that conversation and that flow as opposed to emailing it to you.
Excellent. We've been speaking with Roger Courville with the 1080 Group. Roger, thanks so much. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I'm excited for your new site. I think that mobility is a huge, huge topic for me. And now that we can attend GoToMeeting on my iPhone, it's stunning how this is transforming how we work, and I look forward to seeing more of what you got coming.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Roger Courville with the 1080 Group. Thanks so much for being with us.
My pleasure, Jim. Thanks.